All right, so what we've got here is a certified Angus. That's a upper 2/3 choice cut of brisket. Now, brisket itself is not a generally tender piece of meat. It's got quite a bit of fat on it. So we're gonna go ahead and trim this up a little bit and get it ready for smoking this evening so we can enjoy this delicious piece of meat tomorrow. Again, like I said, brisket is not a naturally tender piece of meat. It's got a lot of flavor, a lot of fat because it's a working muscle. And again, as we talked about with those the butcher shops that originated kind of this style of barbecue, this is one of those cuts of meat that the people out front, the wealthy landowners that were coming in the front, they didn't want this cut of meat. This is not the kind of cut that you would just throw on a grill, you know, a ribeye steak, a New York steak, a tenderloin or filet mignon. So these were the scraps, and the German butcher shop owners in Central Texas had the knowledge already of sausage making and smoking that we here in the States didn't quite understand yet. And so they were able to turn these lesser quality cuts of meat into really delicious and amazing barbecue, which is the tradition that we're honoring here at Smoke City. So we're just gonna go ahead and trim this up a bit. We don't take too much fat off because a lot of this is gonna render down, and we want this in the smoking process. So now that we're done trimming that, let's season it up. What we use here at Smoke City, the same seasoning on just about everything here, mostly salt and pepper, a little bit of chili flake, and that's about it. And as you can see, we put a pretty heavy seasoning on here because it's a really thick piece of meat. And then we want to go ahead, we want to rub that in a little bit, which is why they call it a rub. Let's get a little bit more on here, cover this whole thing up, make sure we got all sides. And then on the brisket, because we really love that black pepper flavor against the meat, we put a little bit extra black pepper on top here. And then this is ready to go into the smoker. And we'll see it 14 hours later in the morning. So after 14 hours of smoking overnight, look at this beautiful brisket that we're gonna have in the morning. Ooh, that is hot. So let me show you guys what we're gonna get in here. After we separate out, we're gonna have that beautiful lean brisket coming from this side, and then over here we get that absolutely beautiful moist brisket, and what we're looking for is that gorgeous smoke ring, which shows that it was actually smoked over real wood. So after 14 hours of smoking overnight, this is the beautiful product that we get in the morning. Oh, look at that beautiful smoke coming out of there. So let's take a look at this pork butt here really quick. Oh yeah, super tender. And you can see then for a pulled pork sandwich, this just falls apart. Look at that. Then we just gently tear it into these beautiful pieces here, toss it with a little bit of our hot vinegar, and that's just beautiful. So what we've got here are baby back ribs, and these are the really meaty, consistent, delicious pork ribs. What I love about these are what are called 2.5 and ups, which means each rack weighs 2.5 pounds or more. Sometimes you'll go to a friend's house or to a restaurant and you'll have a choice of a half rack or a whole rack of ribs. You'll order the whole rack and still be hungry at the end because those are really small ribs. Those are like 1.5 and downs, which by the time you get that, your rack is only gonna be about yay big. So these are nice, big, meaty ribs. 4, 5, 6 ribs is probably all it's gonna take to fill you up. But again, with these, we're just gonna go ahead and season them with our house seasoning, which is comprised of mostly salt, pepper, and a couple of chili flakes in there just to give it some heat. So while we're seasoning up these ribs, I think it's important to note, these are gonna cook for about 4 to 6 hours, 250 degrees over oak. And what happens a lot of times, I think, with some restaurants or at home is people go ahead and boil their ribs first to tenderize them, or they'll put them in the oven on a low temperature, or they'll put them on a hot grill, too hot, and then you end up with a really tough and kind of chewy rib. But this long, slow cooking, that 4 hours at 250 degrees is what's gonna give these that really delicious, fall off the bone, kind of smoky, meaty flavor. All right, now we're gonna go to the smoker with these ribs. And about 4 hours later, we're gonna have some delicious baby back ribs. And so now after 5 or 6 hours, let's take a look at these ribs. Gorgeous. It's grab this rack right here in front. Oh, that's hot. And as you can see, we've got this beautiful caramelization on side. The meat has shrunk back from the bones, which is what we're looking for. It lets us know it's tender. Let's take a look and see what these look like. Oh, yeah. Again, what we're looking for is that beautiful smoke ring. You can see how tender they are. These are fall off the bone, but they're not going to be mushy like a boiled rib. These are smoked ribs, so they're still going to have a little pull to them. But again, we're looking for just that absolute beautiful smoke ring that shows that these were really smoked over wood. So here at Smoke City Market, I think chicken and actually turkey, our poultry, I think are some of the things that really separate us and are really great because we go through a process with them called brining. When you have a lean meat like chicken, we're gonna brine it in a really flavorful, kind of salty, sugary solution that's gonna just inject an enormous amount of flavor into this in the morning. But I also just wanted to quickly show you that, we don't take any shortcuts here. This chicken comes in whole, and then what we do is we're gonna split them so they cook a little more evenly and a little quicker in the smoker. Once we get this backbone out of here, we actually save this for all of our stock that goes into our chili and some of our other stuff. And then we're gonna split this chicken just in half like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and brine this right now. All right, so in order to make the brine, we just take a little bit of onion here, and we're just gonna rough chop that up. We're gonna just cut an orange in half. And I always like to smash the garlic a little bit so we can get a little more flavor out of it. So just the side of our knife here, we just smash that. Oop, little piece. Then inside the bowl we'll go with that garlic. We're gonna squeeze that orange in here. We're gonna drop in some onion. Then we've got some spices here. We've got bay leaf, cinnamon, and some allspice. A little bit of brown sugar. Some of our house rub, the seasoning, mostly salt and pepper. And then apple juice. And then this will go right on top of our chicken. And that's gonna brine overnight. All of our chicken and turkey, like I say, brines completely overnight before we smoke it in the morning. So then after that comes out of the brine, we just want to take our chicken. Now let's remember, it's already been seasoned pretty well inside from soaking in that brine. We just put a little bit of olive oil on the skin here just to help it crisp up and brown in the smoker. And we just want to sprinkle it with just a tiny bit more seasoning, basically just to season the skin of the chicken. And then this is going to go into the smoker with that beautiful post oak wood, 250 degrees for 3 hours, and it's gonna be the best smoked chicken you've ever had in your life. So after about 3 hours, you're gonna have here what I think is probably the best piece of most tender barbecue chicken that you're ever gonna have in your lives. When we think of barbecue chicken, we think of, a skinless chicken breast that we throw out on the grill, brush with some barbecue sauce. Remember, we brined this chicken overnight. We've smoked it for 3 hours over oak, and what you're gonna get here is just tender, natural smoky flavor, just absolutely. Let's get in here and take a look at this. Just beautiful, beautiful chicken. I mean, look at how moist this is. I'll show you guys on the inside here. I mean, try to find some breast meat, some white meat that's that tender. So this is just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, authentic barbecue chicken.